Hi, this is Scott with eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at and installing our eTrailer base plate kit for our 2025 Buick Encore GX. This is what our base plate looks like, all mounted up and with our tow bars attached. It's a really nice design. It's kind of a flat black powder coat, and it kind of hides back in our bumper fascia here really nice. I was actually surprised on how well it went on. It is a tight fit, but it looks really good. It's really hidden well. It's going to be a pretty complicated task to get one of these done. I would say you're looking at a good full day of work just getting your base plate on itself. That's without all of your other things that go along with your flat toe setup. As far as measurements go, you're going to want to know these numbers just so you know. You're looking at about center of the pin, you're looking at about 14 inches from the ground to the center of the pin there. And that's going to be a number you're going to want to know. So you're going to need to know if you're going to have a high-low adapter or not. And with the measurement you're going to need off that, you're going to go by your measurement on the back of your receiver here. And we're looking at right around 24 inches there. Now with your tow bar setup, you want it to be fairly level. So you're going to want to have it level, so you're not going to want to go any more than 3 inches above or below your 14-inch measurement here. So with that, you want it to drop down, and you'll get a measurement here off the one we have here, and we're at 16 inches to the center of this one, so that gets us in the range we need. With your flat toe setup, you're going to have 5 main components. You're going to have your base plate, you're going to have your tow bar, you're going to have your safety cables, you're going to have your braking system, and your taillight wiring kit. Could be diodes or anything like that, as long as it's something that's set up for your model. As far as installation goes, it is pretty intense. It can be a little daunting, especially because you have to take off your whole entire front fascia. So you're going to want to be really careful with that. Once you do pull that off, you'll probably want a couple buddies or something to come help you out with it. It'll help you get it done in a timely manner. As far as installation, if it's something you're not really interested in doing yourself, you can always take a look at our dealer network and have them see if we can find something local for you to get it done. Or you can stick around and watch our installation, and we'll help you get it done. To start our installation for our base plate on our Buick, we're going to need to get our torque screws out along the edge of the top of our fascia here. And we're just going to take a T15 Torx bit and start getting those out. Now on both sides of the vehicle, in the inner fender right here in the front, you're going to have Torx bits here as well. Those are also going to be a T15. So it looks like we're going to have 5 of them along here. We're just going to have to take all those out. And I'm using an angled bit driver. Nice thing about these is you can change them up how you need them. Just set them up for what you need. They work out really well. Now that we have all of our screws out here, we're going to be able to pull off this outer trim piece here around our wheel well. And we did put blue tape on. What that's going to do is that's going to keep, say, this part from coming over and making contact with our paint here. So we just use blue tape to make sure we don't get any scratches. So what I like to do here is pull from up in the middle and kind of make a little gap where I can get a tool behind it. This can be a little tricky sometimes, so just work at it and it'll come loose for you. We're just pulling some pressure on down here in the front. What we did is we got it to pop loose, so we're going to move our way up and just kind of work back. We want to get just past this seam here. Pull this easy, nice and easy along here and pop those out. can be tricky, so just be patient with it. Now you can see behind here, we're going to have a little bolt we're going to have to undo on both sides. So what we're going to do is just pull back one more notch, and we're going to take either a paper towel or maybe a rag or something like that and just kind of pop that in there. And that's going to help hold that out. And we'll probably just take a wrench or something and try and get it there. With this broken loose, you may need to use a wrench or something to get behind here because you may not have enough room for a ratchet. So what to do then is just kind of back it out by hand and just get it out of there. It's kind of a tight space, so it's kind of easier to back it off and do it by hand once you get it loose. Now underneath the front here, we're going to need to get our bolts and little screws out so we can finally get the front end off of here. So we're just going to go around. We'll start with our star bits. We're a T15 and start getting those taken out. And just work our way across the front. Now we'll have 6 7mm bolts here. Now that we have all of our hardware out of our front fascia, we're just going to reach in here and grab this little tab that we had that little 7mm bolt on and just work our way across the front here. These should just pop right out for you. And what I like to do is just be careful of try not to get into your trim and stuff here. And one thing I did just notice as well is we will have to undo this little clip in order to have it come through the front of our fascia when it comes off. So you will want to remove that. Just pull your little tab back, push in on this black tab. Now when you get that little tab pushed back, just kind of push in and push down on that tab real hard and it'll pop out for you. Just kind of tuck it behind here, and we're going to do that on both sides. So now this is the tricky part. There is a couple little clips right up under the headlight here. So we kind of got to lift up and pull back. You're probably going to need a couple set of hands for this, so when it comes off. Now we got it to break loose here. And if you look right here, it just guides up in along this right up here under the headlight. So that is going to be an issue for you. Now we just want to pull down on the bottom of the bumper. Now once you get them all pulled back, you're going to have a plug on the passenger side. You're just going to pop back the little red thing and push in your little clip here. And now on the driver's side, you're going to have this little wire that almost looks like a hose here. Do the same thing, pull the clip back and push in on that and carefully pull them apart. And then you can move your fascia into a safe location. Now let's take a 15mm socket and remove our bumper bolts. And we'll just take all 4 of them out on both sides. With all of our bolts out, we'll just let it sit there and hang in place. One of the options in your instructions is going to be to have to trim this lower piece here. It's kind of like a little air dam thing. So what I like to do before I get everything put in place is I'll kind of test fit it and get my bar put on there and see where everything goes. Well, with doing that, did decide that we are going to have to trim these. We're just going to cut a square out of that to make room for that to go into place. So now I'll just take a tool, and you can either use maybe like a little hacksaw or a Dremel. I'm just going to use a multi-tool and cut these out on both sides. Now with this trimmed out, we're just going to get it lifted into place and just get a bolt in on each side. So we're just going to slide it in behind our factory impact bumper here. One thing to remember when you're putting your bolts in your kit, it will come with Loctite, so you want to put it on all of your bolts. Just get a good strip of it on there and do that with all of them while you're putting them in. And that goes for all of your bolts in the kit and your factory bolts that you're reinstalling. And for now, we just want to get them snugged down after we get them all in finger tight. Now for our next step, we're going to have to get our washer fluid bottle out of the way. Behind it, there is a couple holes we need to get to and to drill one of them out. So we're going to start by getting that out of the way. We're just going to take a 10mm wrench and work on this one right under the headlight and work our way around until we have them all out. We're going to have this one here. We're going to have one back over here. And we'll have one hidden back in here that will probably be a little bit tricky to get at. If I was to do it over again, I would actually do this step before I put this on. It'll just be easier to get that bolt back there out. So you may think about that and take a look at your directions. You may want to pop this out first before you put this on, just so you can have easier access to that bolt back there. On the passenger side, you're going to have this little pocket where we took our washer fluid bottle out, and you're going to have a lower hole here, which is the size we need it to be, and you're going to have another smaller hole up here above it, and you'll have to feel around for it. It's kind of straight in right here. We're going to need to drill that out to 7/16 so we can make room for our bolt to go through that. Now when you're drilling through this, make sure you look on the other side and make sure there's nothing there that you're going to poke through. On this instance, we do have an intercooler tubing, so I'm just going to be careful not to get into that when I go through. And we'll just go ahead and get that drilled out now. Now with our hole drilled here, we're going to go ahead and get our brackets installed. We're going to go on the inside here and kind of go up under this sensor. And what I like to do is get one of them here in the front, because that's going to help to get it lined up in the back there. So I'll just get one started there. Just let that drop. And just put it on finger tight. It's just going to be there to help line up the ones on the inside there. And we'll get the other one in. And just leave them in loose. That's just going to make it a little easier to get your bolts in back here, because these are kind of up in there. Now you can use the fish wire that's in the kit, but I'm able to get my fingers in there, so I'm just going to kind of feel my way and get one started. The lower one's probably going to be the easiest, so I'll do that one first. So what I started to do here is run the bolt from this side into the other side and then have the nut on the inside of the frame. From what I decided is to run it the opposite way, with the bolt coming from the inside out to this side, because of the fact back here we have a intercooler tube for the turbo, and I was worried about the nut and bolt end getting into the turbo tube, so I went ahead and did it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other top one in here, And it can be a little tricky to get them in there. You just got to work at it. Now with all of our bolts in place, what we're going to do is just go through and get everything torqued down to the torque specifications listed in our instruction manual. Included in your kit, you're going to have your safety cables here. And what you're going to want to do is just loop them through your top portion here and then run them down and loop them down around the crossbar here. And make sure you get these all tight and you can get these kind of tucked away out of the way. And that's going to give you a little extra protection. Now in our base plate kit, we do have this little bracket for our wiring. So we chose to put it on the driver's side, and we're going to do it where it's as even up a plane as we can get with the top of these right here, because it's going to fit in the slot in our fascia. So we're just going to go ahead and get that bolted on now. And we're just going to run a bolt through. Then we're going to take a split washer and our nut. And that's going to provide a solid mounting point for our wiring. Once you have it lined up and have your bracket where you want it, just go ahead and tighten them down. I'm going to use a 7/16 wrench. I'm just going to use 2 of them and get them nice and tight. Now that we have everything all trimmed out on our fascia here, all you're going to have to do is hold it up and have somebody help you hold it up and mark the places that you have to trim. You're just going to cut out little pieces of the grill section on the lower section of it there and just trim it to whatever looks like it's going to work for you. It really depends on what side and everything you put your breakaway switch and everything on. So you just got to remember to plug in all your plug-ins that you unplugged when you took the fascia off and get it put in place. As far as getting the fascia back on, it can be kind of tricky. You will want 2 people, maybe 3 to help you get it lined back up. On this particular vehicle, the fascia fits on really tight. So at this point now, once you get it on there like that, then you'll just move on to your finishing touches and get all your hardware put back in place that you took off during unassembly. So now we're just gonna get the bolt in here and then we'll start getting the rest of our trim on, and that'll button up the front end. And that was a look at our eTrailer base plate for our 2025 Encore GX.